Hey everyone, Paul Angelo here. Let's talk about romantic love. I'd like for you to get a grasp of what is it really, how to achieve it, and what happens when you don't have it. So let's start out with what happens when we don't have romantic love in our lives. What happens when we don't have it is all kinds of chaos. Simply because we don't have a planet to revolve around. That's a good metaphor. We need each other on a deeper level because the presence of another person is like a planet around which we orbit. And so the stability, the balance, and the peace of mind that comes from it is something that we need for the rest of our lives. And then when we go even into a deeper reason why romantic love is so necessary, that it's a beautiful garden. It's a garden. It's a container where we can always come into and heal ourselves. A good way to explain this is to ask yourself how much stress is going on in your life right now. How many traumas, dramas, how many negative experiences are you having in your life? And then we want to say, how do you heal from that? What's the fastest way to heal from that? And I'm sure you would agree that a hug or someone's warm comment or someone's kiss on the cheek, that this is really how we heal. This is the fastest way that we can heal ourselves. And there's no better way. And we can toughen up. You can toughen up. You can be super strong. But you're not going to be able to sustain that. Nobody can sustain the amount of challenges and difficulties and stresses that we are exposed to today. And so when we look at romantic relationships, we need to look at them from a perspective of pragmatic healing, softening, and cushioning of our lives for the rest of our lives. And to the degree that we have that cushion, we have that garden, we have that container, we succeed a lot faster. People that don't take relationships seriously, what happens in their lives is that they end up going into these cyclical reminders of how it sucks to be lonely, how much it hurts to be by ourselves. And these cyclical patterns come back throughout the rest of the person's life, so they never go away. Human beings are designed for partnerships, for togetherness, for unity. And I read one time in a book that there are two things that happens in our lives for sure in relationship to love. We are either compensating for lack of it. So this means justifying why we're single and then using sex, gadgets, using money or consumerism to mask our insecurities of being alone and lonely and not validated. Or we simply do whatever is necessary to get love. So there are two responses to the concept of love or romantic love in our lives. One is that we either compensate for lack of it or we do whatever is necessary to get it. And that dance goes on throughout our lives. It never goes away unless the person is psychopathic, unless the person has some serious personality disorder. For a healthy person, the need for companionship, the need for that romantic garden inside of which to feel complete, whole, and safe is mandatory for our sanity, for our mental health. A lot of times in the gay circles, we give the permission to the concept of being alone and separated. But it's not a concept that was born out of sociology or out of psychology. It's a concept that justifies our loneliness, that justifies our separation. And for a man, this is a very deadly ways of thinking because men, more than women, need that companionship, need that presence of another person for validation, for understanding, for that emotional blanket that we need on a consistent basis so that we can achieve success in life, so that we can express ourselves, so that we can discover who we really are on the inside by the virtue of taking risks and getting feedback from the world. And if we are not feeling loved, if we don't have that garden of romantic contentment and support, we are unable to take risks. We don't feel safe on on the day-to-day basis. And so people usually like that, they end up struggling in life because they're not reinventing themselves. They're not adapting. They don't have the strength, the spiritual strength to go out of the comfort zone and to grow into the person that ideally would whose behaviors, ways of thinking, and attitudes support the kind of life you want to live. So this is, in short, why romantic relationships, romantic love is required. It's not optional. Now, let's talk about what is it? What is it? And why is it so difficult for people to attain it? Romantic love is a complex emotion. It's an emotion that is an emergent out of many things happening at the same time correctly. Romantic love is not for everybody, and some people will never have it. Romantic love is not spiritual love. Romantic love is spiritual love turned to or adapted towards day-to-day life in whatever system that you live in a capitalist system or in a socialistic system. Romantic love is the taking of the spiritual love and making it work with the person in front of you who has to pay bills, who wants to have sex, who has dreams, fantasies, fears, frustrations, desires, and making it work with that person. So to make it work, we have to be different than what you normally see out there with gay men, which is driven by sexual incompletions, driven by protection ourselves from the expression of insecurities and our feelings. That will never work. Because romantic love is a complex experience, the person that will succeed has to accept that complexity and the nuanced version of that experience. It's going to be a delicate experience. It's going to involve multiple pillars of awareness, multiple pillars of behaviors that, if they're not happening, that person will never experience that emotional complexity and the delicate nature of it. So let me give you some examples. Compassion, acceptance, tolerance, giving ourselves as opposed to taking from others. These are very complex behaviors. If we inside are not completed emotionally or even on an identity level, we can't give ourselves to others. We can't accept others because we are chaotic inside of ourselves. Sexuality is a perfect, easy to understand example. Bottoms looking for a top. Does that mean that they're looking for a relationship? No, they're looking to complete themselves sexually. And the issue with that is that even though they find that top, it still won't work because they are using that person to fill in a blank inside them. That they're not searching for that person for legitimate reasons, they're searching for that person because there's something missing in their lives. And so the complexity of love that is sustainable, it will not emerge out of that environment. It will not emerge. The complexity that of human nature that is evident in loving relationships demands your ability and your competency to navigate around the waters of human complexity. This means you have to understand emotional intelligence, you have to understand empathy, communication, understanding of another person. You need to understand sexuality, compatibility. If a person doesn't understand those psychological foundations, then that complexity of love, that beautiful garden, that container is impossible to create because our insecurities will come in, our worries and fears will come in, our low self-esteem will be triggered, our sexual drives, if unfulfilled, will come in and interrupt the process. So the concept of romantic love will be this cycle of desiring it, but then never being able to achieve it. And so now I'm going to share with you the solution to that. There is a solution. And the solution is what has always been the solution for humanity. And that is making relationships a way of life. Making learning about relationships and psychology a way of life for the rest of your life. Making growth the essence of who you are. Making spiritual development the essence of who you are, interacting with a lot of variety of people so that you're comfortable around gay human complexity. And the challenge is that what we see is that men, they enter into the cycle of desire, but then they get triggered by insecurity, they get triggered by a bad event, and they go back to the cave. And they repeat that cycle 6 months, every 6 months, and for a long time, eventually never emerging into, never transcending, and never getting to the place of that automatic success in relationships. I've been lucky to experience this with Frank and with other people in my life. It's a place where relationships just work. They just work because you have pruned away insecurities. You have pruned away the places in your heart, in your mind, in your psychic that previously stood in the way. These things could be coming from your parents, they could be coming from negative experiences in childhood, from breakups, betrayals, from disappointments, but still, you are responsible to let go of it if you want a healthy relationship. You are responsible for cleansing yourself from those past experiences and making better choices going forward, and then experiencing different version of what you experienced in the past. And you have to learn how to grow towards that balanced approach to relationships, that combination of good things happening at the same time on your mental level, on your emotional level, on your spiritual level, on the compatibility level, communication level, and then you see relationships and the love and that beautiful garden happening, growing, evolving, and you see the difference. But again, it's a complex experience, and it's going to take not 3 months, it's going to take a few years, because you have to let go of the conditioned habits of sexual consumerism. There's the consumerism about the gadgets and the money and trying to be significant because of the money, trying to be significant because of the car, tangible things. But once you prune that, once you're no longer conditioned to choose people because of money or because of the sex they give you, now you are ready for normal romantic love and normal experience of uniting yourself with another person. Anything, if you're still dragging the sexual innuendos, if you're still dragging the consumerism culture into romantic relationships, you always feel empty because you are dragging with yourself expectations that are not even yours, that you simply heard somewhere and you thought and you imagined them being good for you. They were never tested anyway. And so that's why people struggle. People struggle because they have incorporated irrational beliefs about the world, about relationships, about love, and never tested them. And they keep trying to perpetuate them and keep entering in these cycles of trying really hard and then not succeeding and then withdrawing and then delaying the next cycle. And then years and years and years pass by and we never achieve the relationship success we needed. So the solution is to make relationships a way of life. And the Big E Family Social Program is designed for that. You get introductions to a lot of men, you get courses, you get training, you get support, so you can make this program your relationship retreat, inside of which you practice the mental muscles. You flex your mental muscles, your spiritual muscles, your emotional muscles to align yourself with what really works in relationships. Not what you think works in relationships, but what really works in relationships. And the ideas in the program work. They've worked for me in my relationship with Frank over the past almost 8 years. They work for everybody who's in the program because they help them see what really is necessary, that the garden that you have to cultivate has to be there. We have to have a container. Then in the container, we have to have pillars for foundations. And this is acceptance, tolerance, compassion, empathy, understanding, continuity, consensus, staying involved. These are the foundations. You practice these foundations and you prune away the insecurities that stand in the way. You start finding out relationships happen naturally because you return to the natural human values. Humanism. Humanism is the emphasis on human values and living life through human expression, through relationships inside of container of safety, container of spiritual calmness and peace of mind. And that's the garden that you need to build in your life so that another person wants to enter into it. And so these principles I'm sharing with you right now will help you open up to the concept of a romantic love. It's a complex experience demanding education, demanding awareness, competency, practice, letting go of what doesn't work and keep trying again, growing and ascending into the way of being that produces relationships automatically for the rest of your life, which I know is what you're looking for. I know that you are not looking for just a quick fix. You're looking for something sustainable. And this is what sustainability looks like. A combination of complex things happening at the same time. Romantic love is an emergent. It doesn't happen with a quick fix. It happens when you adapt to the way of being that makes human interaction healthy, where you can give yourself to others, where you have a space into which invite people to, and with that, relationships happen everywhere you go. So I hope this helps you. For more videos about the psychology of romantic love, sexuality, and gay relationships, please visit my website at paulangelo.com. Also, please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you like this information, share it with your friends, comment below. And as always, my friends, before we go to the next video, go out there, think big, stay present, and be a leader in your life today. Signing off. Talk to you soon.